Last year, the mayor criticized this council for passing a $9.5 million upside-down budget. We're proposing to pass his proposal and even make it worse. More deficit spending. Yeah, it's raining. And normally you take money out of the rainy day fund when it's raining. The real question is when is the rain going to stop? With Proposal A and Headley in place, it becomes counterintuitive to understand how the tax structure in the city and for local authorities and for school boards work. But the bottom line is simple. When tax revenue goes down, it stays down. It will never go back up unless the people vote to either have a Headley override or they vote for a dedicated millage like they did with the library. Tax revenue will never go back up. Next year, this city is looking at about $4.5 to $5 million reduction in additional tax revenue, and we're going to have about, what, $13 million projected in the fund balance. That $13 million will be gone. I'm surprised that our financial officers are going along with this budget, especially when Mr. Schimmel criticized the last budget. I didn't hardly hear anything from him this year. It's apparent that fundraisers are more important than fiscal responsibility.
You finished, Mr. List?
Yep.
Last call for any council members to comment on the budget.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Sadowski.
First off, I'd like to correct a few things. With regard to the DPW workers, those two, Act 51 money is gone, which is what is paying for those two positions. They're not losing their jobs, they're being transferred over to water. So no one's losing their job under that. And I had that confirmed. I've talked to several people regarding that, and I've talked to the gentleman, one of the gentlemen whose job is supposed to be on the line here. Very passionate about his job, wants to stay within DPW and work, and would love to have him there. But as that money starts to go, if we have those positions available and we can transfer those people into the other positions, that's a much better option than laying someone off. You know, we talk about the DDA helping to balance the general fund budget, but however, the DDA, the way it's set up, the DDA can pay for certain activities within the DDA. And that's why they were able to purchase some of that equipment. I'm going to expand a little bit on what Mr. Scott Stevens had stated. You know, not only do we have we been saving jobs and cutting expenses, but also the increases in revenues. I mean, we got $2.5 million coming in from the fire department because of ambulance transport that has been brought back. That's revenue that the city had never had before. As a matter of fact, in the past, that department had actually cost the city of money, or the city of Warren, a tremendous amount of money. And through creativity, the ambulance transport was able to be brought back under a system where we were able to generate income from. We've consolidated departments, and there was a big fight over last year about consolidating the departments. But in some cases, some of these things have to happen. As we start to make changes, and we make these incremental changes as we go through and become creative, we could save a lot more money if we could get Centerline to come to the table with us and do some of the consolidations, some of the shared services that we have. We do it already right now in the court building, and I give credit to Rob and also to our chief judge in renegotiating the contract and making that cost sharing with Centerline more fair, because we were paying a majority of that cost to run that court system, and now it's at least being balanced out more equitably. And to sit there and say nothing has been done or very little has been done, you know, is just a complete fabrication. Those are all my comments, Madam Chair.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Malasek has said a couple of times, when this budget was first presented, it was $96 million. And the mayor sent it back and said, cut more. The final figure on the budget when it was presented to us was $89 million. Last year, the point of contention, as it is every year with every mayor and with every council, is a line item budget. We passed the budget with the stipulation that we would get monthly expenditure reports. We had heard a number of times that we never get reports, we never get reports. Over the last 12 years, we have gotten a monthly expenditure report. There's never been any contention. It's always been received and filed. Regarding the mayor's office, if that's an internal conflict that he has in his office, it is within his boundaries to resolve that conflict. Whether we question it or not, I don't know if that's our authority. But this administration, over the past 12 months, has worked its tail off to make this a business-friendly community. This council unanimously has approved business incentives that will draw over 2,200 new jobs to this city this year alone. We have what's going on in the tech center. We have what's going on with the powertrain division in GM. We have TACOM opening, and the ribbon ceremony cutting is this Friday. That's 750 transfer jobs from out of state that are coming to Warren. So, is any budget perfect? No. But this budget is a lot improved since last year, and I'm comfortable with it. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Kumar.
2 points have come up since a couple other people have commented here. One was we have the fire department that we really worked really hard, and I think all of council did a great job in putting it back together in a better light and a better perspective. And the way we're doing it now, we do have income revenue coming in. But one thing, maker to the motion through the chair, maybe we could take that fund balance that we have and make it a dedicated line item. We have those funds coming in. We've got equipment that is desperately needed. And why not make that a dedicated line item? Right now, that is going into the general fund. It is not a dedicated line item. So through the chair to Mr. Bacamino.
Mr. Bacamino, do you accept that amendment?
Let me just check something. I don't feel it's necessary, no.
All right. Thank you. The other thing is the line item budget. We have talked about that numerous times in the committee of the whole. I think the line item is very important, and why it is in this economy is because right now we have line items that we're seeing here in our budget. But when the department can go through the whole department and pick up any leftover money from any other line that's available in it. So I think it's important to keep those dedicated lines so we truly know what each expenditure is. I know we've talked about having it very detailed and getting an accounting system where we've got it and we know, the controller knows. The controller has to get approval for each one of taking it from another line, but it would be nice to know that these expenditures that are occurring here, that is exactly what the expenses are happening with, each item that is there. And right now, the way it's set up is you could take office supplies from something else, and we're not getting a true cost figure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments from council members?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Stevens.
very quickly, I want to expound upon the expenditure report, and I'm going to use an example. Last meeting, Lieutenant Sumner's came before us, wanted some more money for overtime. I asked him, you had $7,000. I said, do you know how much money you had in your budget? He didn't know how much money he originally had in his budget. I don't know. He had originally had $7,000 in it. I told him that within the first 2 months you went through $5,000 and now you're back before us. How did I know that? because I looked at the expenditure reports. I put my spreadsheets, the prior months next to the month I'm getting, and I go through that item by item, and I look at what is being spent. I know if something's going to be transferred, some money's going to be transferred from one line item, or if they did. That's what that report was for. Not only that, that report is online. Every resident in this city can access that and look to see how their money is being spent. That is how government is supposed to be run. That is transparency in government. That's why we went to the computer system, where we get our files emailed to us, but at least most of us do. They can see everything that we see, from the money to every item that we're looking at tonight. I think that is great. That's transparency. And that's what we're moving towards. We want to make this more and more transparent. If other council people did not want to take part in the process and be a part of it, and just wanted to fish and not offer anything tangible, I can't help that. I'm not willing to sit on my hands year after year after year because of my ego and see things go bad. I don't look at a glass as being half empty. I look at it as being half full.
Members of the audience, please. Mr. Stevens has the floor. Are you finished, Mr. Stevens?
I'm collecting my thoughts. I'm being interrupted by the audience.
I've already corrected them once, please. Members
Right.
of the audience?
On one part, I heard a lot of rhetoric. What I really think it is rhetoric, but it was, I don't know. I've been on council for 4 years, and I put a lot of effort and time into it, and these budgets especially. And for another council member to sit up here that has been on this council an additional 8 years and say they don't know, if you don't know, ask the questions. That's how I believe Mr. Bacamino arrived at this budget. He asked a lot of questions. Going to the tree trimming, using tree trimming money, Public Act 51 money for local roads. The reason why those two individuals must be transferred to the water department to save their jobs is because Public Act 51 monies have dried up. That question was raised during the budget hearings with Parks and Rec. I distinctly asked Mr. Bowman about his Public Act 51 monies for tree work. And he said that they were gone. He didn't receive them. I didn't say a lot at all of the meetings, but I did take a lot of notes.